I would like to ask all panelists, also Titia and the others, to turn on the camera. There are quite some very interesting questions in the Q&A also, and you made a very nice bridge, Manuel, to some of these questions, and also for Till. Titia, I will introduce you, but there is one person with a question that has a bit of a hurry, has to leave. So I want to start with one question and then I introduce you. Yeah. So the question actually is more or less, yeah, to you both, Till and Manuel, but I think the bridge that Manuel recently made is very clear. It's asked by Laetitia Moreau-Gabarin, and she says, how could habits help in a matter of chronobiology, education, policies, and health? And that's actually, of course, where you ended with, Manuel. I mean, you have very nice tips for habits, but how can we reach the people to do that? And she says there's actually a science of habits. The primary brain is involved. Could you discuss on this topic, maybe?
I can maybe respond to this. So I think this is really a really interesting question, right? So just understanding the biological principles underlying this doesn't bring us to behavior change. I think what we really need to merge is, you know, a huge literature of health psychology and behavior change to understand what it is that we need to do with people so that they adopt better habits, right? And I think, you know, there's, of course, nudges. You could do this, all kinds of different behavioral science techniques that in principle could work. But they are not, you know, in a way they need to be subject to empirical investigation, right? Just like you need to prove the efficacy of a drug, you know, these interventions also need to be tested in terms of how good they are and what they can accomplish. And, you know, in many ways, I think there's a prime example, and I think this is something that we can turn to as chronobiologists. A prime example for how behavior has changed in the concept of policy as well is, you know, and smoking cessation, right? How do we, in 30 years, effectively changed, you know, the landscape of smoking, the social acceptability of smoking? And I think there's probably something there that we can at least understand to see how could we bring, you know, circadian positive behavior, as it were, a little bit more promoted in people.
Yeah,
I totally agree, and I always say it took millions of dollars and euros to bring us into a state where not everybody thinks that smoking is the coolest thing on the globe. And what we need is a similar budget to make the circadian clock and sleep as being, and especially sleep, to be not uncool, but actually sleeping is cool. It makes you sexy. I mean, smoking makes you unsexy, and sleeping makes you sexy, so that we need campaigns that actually change. And I don't like the word habit so much, but I would rather want to talk about behaviors, because habit has a connotation of something we should not do because it's too habitual. But behavior, we have to change behaviors in humans, as we have done, and I totally agree with Manuel, as we have done with smokers.
Yes, yes, thank you. I think so too, and I think yes, it reminds me of a strategy day we had 2 weeks ago with the Good Light group of how to get the ball running, how to get to this point. So I'm very much looking forward to discuss this further with you if you want to.
Can I add something to exactly that?
Yeah.
Because daylight savings time is the same thing. It's purely hedonic. So people, even those who are late types and have to get up with an alarm clock in the morning, say they love the long evenings. It's a hedonic thing. It's nice to sit out when it's still light, but of course it's also nice to sit out when there are stars around, which you can't do in towns, but of course it's nice. But What I wanted to say, it's hedonic. And if you ask a smoker, he also says, I like smoking. And therefore, there is no consideration in these two hedonic statements that on the long run, you might be not as healthy as if you changed your habits or your behavior. Sorry.
Yeah, clear. That was also one of the questions from Timo Pertomen. Night owls would benefit most from the perennial standard time, but at the same time, they are demanding the perennial daylight saving time. So, and that's
But
indeed.
they get it mixed up. They are most awake in the evening, and they like to be
they
in
like
the light.
in the lights. Yeah.
But the light will make them even later.
Yeah, definitely. That's what we need to explain. Okay, thank you very much. So now I want to move to Titia. Titia, happy to have you here in this panel discussion. Could you shortly introduce yourself?
Yes, hello. I'm a better time use advocate for the Dutch platform Betere Tijden and also the International Alliance for Natural Time, which is a collaboration that we set up last year to unite the advocates from around the world to coordinate strategies and actions. I would like to share my screen now. Yeah, I can tell you, I studied biology and psychology, and I've been fighting to promote this issue for about 10 years now, ever since my eldest daughter had to go to school. And we discovered that getting up at 7 in the morning was really very early. And why were we so tired? And I delved into it, and I started all this. I can tell you that, yeah, I wanted to share my screen. So that is, let me see, this one. Yeah. Is that there? Can you see it?
Now something is.
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah. So I can tell you that in the Netherlands, we've been raising awareness about this issue and the fact that Western Europe has this double summertime, as you can see on the map, for about 10 years. And we started to actively lobby when the EU proposal was announced a few years ago. And since then, we've written and spoken to politicians, we've attended government meetings, we've set up a collaboration group of Dutch experts worried about this issue, chronobiologists like Marijke and experts on sleep, on health, education, labor, economy, and safety. We've expanded this to include Belgian experts, and we're now called the Benelux Alliance for Healthy Time Use, which is we're a group of knowledgeable experts available for media interviews and to explain this. And we've also written a position paper, which you can download from our site in 4 languages, which explains the issue, the background, all the scientific facts, and the very simple solution. Yeah, and you can ask me anything about DST, the time zones, and the impact on health, performance, and the economy.
Okay, thank you, Titia. Yeah, it's a picture Till also already showed. I think that let's start with a few of the questions with respect to daylight saving time. So one of them by Timo Partonen is also what you are talking about, Titia, and what you are working on, Till, is politicians tend to favor for perennial daylight saving time. Anyway, I mean, they don't see the urgency, obviously, of making the decision to quit. And if they want to quit, they seem to be willing to make the wrong choice in our eyes. So how can we convince them? What kind of, I mean, we can discuss this in this kind of group, but how should we convince politicians and Europe to make the right choice?
Did you
Yeah,
ask
please.
that?
Yeah, Till.
You can't convince politicians with any rational argument, because all politicians seem to be looking at is to be re-elected. So if you have a poll like the stupid poll that the EU put out, which was from a scientific point of view the worst poll I've ever seen, you get a majority to say we would like this, and then you translate that into votes, which is of course not what politics was invented for. Politicians should be elected for doing what they promise to do, or make decisions for those who vote, and not ask ask the majority, what do you want? We would still be all smoking if we had done that. So you can't reach the politicians, but you can reach the public. And I have the feeling that it's a break into 50-50. What we need to do is enlighten those late types who say, I like the late evenings, that they are late types because they like the late evenings. They are late types per se, of course, but they are exaggerated by the late types, and they should understand that. But I think we will not succeed. So the only thing that I think will be, or I know will be instrumental, is that we go to permanent DST, because we've done this for 4 or 5 times in different countries, and it never has survived. So the German proverb, wer nicht lernen will, muss fühlen. We have to get that out here. I know that Letizia is frantically against the suggestion, which of course is a pessimistic suggestion, but I'm trying to provoke people to understand that this has been tried and never succeeded.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's a question of communication. And the problem is, if we do that, Till, then in the Netherlands and in France and Spain, it will be way worse than for Germans to be in permanent daylight saving time. Because we're already in permanent daylight saving time. We'd be in double permanent saving.
But you didn't vote, and 90% or 70% of the Germans did, which I never understood why.
Certain people voted. I mean, a lot of people did not even know about this survey. So
the communication was not very good. I think in the Netherlands, when you currently do a survey, there is more than 60% of the people in favor of standard time. So there is a majority of people that know a bit, but still the politician, and there are several good initiatives from the politicians. I think we had this expert discussion. There was a report asked to an independent research institute to make a paper. Of course, they all concluded the same because it's based on the same literature, but still politicians do not take decisions. And in my feeling, in Europe, it's the Committee of Transport that is the ones that is in charge of this discussion. And it seems that there is a lot of discussion going on with respect to that it's bad for transport, that you have different time zones, that is bad for companies. It's even the ICT that should be against the switch. I don't know why. I mean, this seems for me the most easy way if you change your computer program. But so how couldn't we, in my feeling, we need to take the step to the economics. I mean, you presented that paper, Till. Shouldn't we ask people to calculate what the costs are? Can we really estimate costs, not only from our chronobiology perspective, but also from the company's perspective? And who should do that?
There have been studies done. There are already studies there from different countries, and it would be really easy for them to compile this information. It's excuses not to have to take a decision that most people feel is difficult, and they don't understand it, and they think it's complicated. The big problem is that we've had this since the 70s for a lot of people, it's their whole lives. And also the fact that we're in the wrong time zone has been going on since the Second World War. So it's a lifetime of living this way, of thinking it's normal, and you don't realize the effect it has. And now that we do know, we have new science explaining exactly the effect it has on the body, we can use that to say, look, we have this new information, look how it's affecting us, look how it's affecting the economy. And hopefully that will help change their minds. But it's just, there's so much misinformation, so many, weird ideas about what you said about, I'm an evening person, therefore I want summertime because I'll have longer evenings. No, you won't. You'll have to go to bed earlier. You have to get up earlier. It's
Manuel, could we write a comic book on daylight saving time?
That would be a good one.
I mean,
short comics. I mean, maybe not the whole book, but maybe some short 3-picture or 10-picture, 1 page.
I think it could be a good idea. Yeah. I mean, I don't see why not. It's just a question of, who's going to illustrate it, and can we agree on, even amongst us, what the messages are. Mm-hmm. But I think it should be relatively straightforward. I think it'd be a good vehicle, I'd say, for bringing some information out there. My feeling is that the more information we put out, the better it probably is, as long as it's consistent.
And using humor, because in Holland we had this comedian do a short segment on it, and it reached even the government people. They told us, yes, we've seen that, we understand now. So that is what helps.
Yeah,
I think humor is always extremely good. Putting out knowledge, I think, is actually not productive for those who are very militant about the opposite, because I think the newest research on Facebook shows the more you put people and confront people with facts, the more radical they become to defend their viewpoint. But we've lost a chance here. We missed a chance, because you should have. How many people did we have? 130 or something like that at the peak. You should have put out a questionnaire: who is for standard time, who is for DST, or even permanent DST, and then we should have done the poll again after having presented facts.
This today, yeah.
Today, because I mean, 130 people would have given us some insights whether what we are doing here is of any effect. It could be that from the start, only people who already were convinced, so we preach to the convinced people, or we might have not reached with our facts those people who think they still want permanent DST or DST. So it would have been interesting, and I think it's very, very important not only to talk to politicians, because as I said, I don't believe that they actually. We've written a letter to 5 ministries in Germany from the German Sleep Society, signed by the presidents and other committee members that deal with this. We never got an answer. Which is incredible. You have a valid scientific society. You write to the politicians very openly. You tell them, I've written to the chancellor, I've written to the health ministry, and I've written to the so it's completely transparent, and you don't even get an answer. Even a one sentence like, "Thank you very much. We will come back to your arguments once we make the decision," or something like that would have been enough. No response.
Yeah.
And I think what's happening is that the pandemic has given them a chance to get out of a catch-22 situation which they've put themselves into. And that is, what shall we do on a European level with the decision? And they're completely clueless. They have no plan. And they don't listen to experts. So they are just glad that everybody thinks, yeah, they have enough to do. They don't have to make this decision now.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think we are almost done. I would like to have one combined question, maybe to Manuel and Till together, because there are many questions with this respect, and it's also what we are often dealing with. If you would have, so you talked about a lot of time outside. We need a lot of time outside. We need a morning walk. We need high intensities of light. Any idea about what is a lot? How long should the light bath be during the day? A hint? I mean, there's no science behind this. There's no duration response curve or something. But is half an hour enough, or should we say for the current knowledge?
So if you look at the MCTQ database with a lot of people in it, and we've asked how much time do you spend outside without a roof above your head during daylight? And now we correlate that with how early and late you are. And it's interesting that it's an S-shaped curve. So it goes from hardly at all outside to, and you are very, very, well, late perhaps, yeah. And you now become earlier and earlier and earlier. And this, at least on the population level, seems to saturate at 2 hours.
Okay.
So 2 hours outside, even 1 hour, then you're already in the greatest change. And it depends very much on when you do this 1 hour, of course.
Yes.
Because the 1 hour in the morning
is much more effective, at least for the late times.
In getting us on track with social timing than the long, beautiful evenings.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say, would like to end that. Thank you very much. Take at least over the whole year, I would say 1 to 2 hours of daytime light without a roof above your head, and that may help you to keep healthy
in the morning.
And especially in the morning, and let's hope, and let's all together work about informing society and politicians about the optimal choice. Thank you very much, Manuel, Til, and Titia. Thank the organizers, Sigrid, for organizing very well. And all the participants. We had about 127 participants at the highest number. So I think a very nice, large number. Thank you very much and have a nice evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.